Tonight, when the sun disappears behind the horizon, you'll do something so ordinary that you won't even notice it. Your finger will touch a switch. Instantly, light will pour into the room. The darkness will retreat without resistance. Your house will stay alive long after the sun is gone. But for almost the entirety of human existence, that moment was impossible. For more than 300,000 years, every human being who ever lived entered a world each night that modern people can barely imagine. A world without electric light, without glowing streets, without phones, without windows lit from miles away. When the sun vanished, darkness didn't mean dimness. It meant true darkness, the kind so complete that you could lose sight of your own hand inches from your face.
And yet, your ancestors spent nearly half of their lives inside that darkness. Not for a week, not for a generation, for hundreds of thousands of years. Modern humans almost never experience this anymore. Even in the middle of the night, our skies glow with artificial light. Cities pulse like machines that never sleep. But for most humans who ever lived, night was not an extension of daytime. Night was an entirely different world. And the deeper scientists look into that lost world, the stranger it becomes. Because darkness didn't just shape how humans survived, it shaped how humans thought, how they slept, how they dreamed, how they told stories, how civilizations were born. To understand what nights used to be, we have to begin with the single discovery that changed human existence more than almost anything else in history: fire. The earliest strong evidence of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave nearly 1 million years ago. Inside that cave, archaeologists discovered burned plant remains and ash deep beyond the cave entrance. Proof that early humans weren't just encountering natural wildfires. They were carrying fire into darkness, controlling it, preserving it. And that changed everything.
Before fire, humans were prisoners of daylight, just like every other primate on Earth. When the sun went down, movement stopped. You climbed into trees, sheltered in rocks, or huddled in silence. The night belonged to predators. Leopards could see in darkness. Hyenas could hunt through sound. Wolves moved through black forests like they were born from the shadows themselves. Humans were weak at night. Our eyes are terrible in low light. Our bodies are slow compared to predators. A lone human wandering in darkness 100,000 years ago was not a hunter. They were prey. But a campfire changed the equation overnight, literally. A fire creates a small island of safety in a world designed to kill you. Anthropologists estimate that even a modest campfire creates a protective zone roughly 30 feet across. Inside that flickering circle, predators hesitate. Outside it, the darkness remains alive with danger. Even today, studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies show that people who stray too far from fire at night face dramatically higher risks from predators. Fire was not comfort. Fire was survival. But survival was only the beginning. Because for the first time in evolutionary history, humans had gained something extraordinary: extra hours. Think about what that means. Before fire, the useful human day ended at sunset. In winter, that could mean only 8 usable hours of life before darkness swallowed the world. Fire extended the day by 2, 3, sometimes 4 additional hours every single night. And over thousands of generations, those hours transformed the human mind. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published groundbreaking research after studying the conversations of the Juhawonsi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the few remaining societies still living in ways similar to ancient human life. What she discovered was astonishing. During daylight hours, almost every conversation was practical. Hunting, food, water, complaints, logistics, survival. But once darkness arrived and people gathered around the fire, the entire structure of human conversation changed. Nighttime conversations became stories. Myths about creation, tales of distant people, adventures, spirits, heroes, dreams, jokes that made entire camps erupt into laughter beneath the stars. The firelight didn't just illuminate faces, it illuminated imagination. Wiesner argued that these nighttime storytelling sessions may have been one of the foundations of human civilization itself. The campfire became humanity's first theater, the first classroom, the first place where knowledge passed from one generation into another, not through instinct, but through narrative. This may be where humans first learned to think beyond immediate survival. Around a fire, people could imagine futures that didn't exist yet, worlds they had never seen, gods, laws, history, meaning. The darkness forced humans together, and the fire gave them enough light to dream. But storytelling was only part of what happened at night. There was another ancient human behavior hidden in darkness for centuries, something so forgotten that modern science had to rediscover it almost by accident. For most of human history, people did not sleep the way you sleep today. In 2001, historian Roger Eckarch published research that shocked the scientific world. After spending 16 years examining historical documents, he uncovered more than 500 references to something modern society had almost completely forgotten.
First sleep and second sleep. The references appeared everywhere. Medieval prayer books, court testimonies, private diaries, ancient medical texts, letters from ordinary people, even passages from Odyssey, all describing the exact same pattern. Humans used to sleep in two separate phases. People would fall asleep shortly after sunset and sleep for roughly 4 hours. Then, they would naturally wake in the middle of the night, not for a few seconds, for 1 or even 2 full hours. After that, they would return to sleep again until dawn. This wasn't considered strange. It wasn't insomnia. It was normal human life. And what people did during that waking period is perhaps the most fascinating part. Some prayed. Some reflected on dreams while they were still vivid. Some visited neighbors. Some had conversations. Some wrote. Some simply lay awake in silence, thinking. A physician from 16th century France even advised couples that this quiet interval between sleeps was the ideal time to conceive children, because the body was supposedly more relaxed and balanced. Another medical text described the middle of the night as the perfect time for contemplation, because the mind was calm and undistracted. For centuries, historians had seen these references but misunderstood them. Modern society was so convinced that uninterrupted 8-hour sleep was universal that translators often altered ancient texts to fit modern assumptions. But then, science confirmed the impossible. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware conducted an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health. Volunteers were removed from artificial light entirely and exposed to long periods of darkness every night, conditions similar to what humans experienced before modern electricity. Within weeks, every participant naturally shifted into the same ancient rhythm. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours awake, then another 4 hours asleep. Nobody instructed them to do this. Their bodies simply remembered. As if an ancient biological program, buried deep inside the human nervous system, had quietly reactivated the moment artificial light disappeared. But Ware discovered something even stranger. During the wakeful middle period, participants entered a unique mental state, unlike ordinary waking consciousness.
Their bodies produced elevated levels of prolactin, a hormone associated with calmness, meditation, and deep relaxation. Participants described the experience as peaceful, dreamlike, reflective, almost spiritual. In the 1600s, major European cities began installing street lamps. Paris was among the first, under Louis XIV, partly to reduce crime. Then came London, then gas lamps in the 1800s, then factories operating through the night. And finally, in 1879, Thomas Edison helped commercialize the electric light bulb. Within a single century, the night humans had known for hundreds of thousands of years vanished. And with it, vanished the ancient rhythm of human sleep. Even language still carries traces of that older world. The word curfew comes from the French phrase couvre-feu, literally meaning cover fire. In medieval towns, bells rang at night, signaling people to extinguish flames and retreat indoors. Because darkness was expected. Darkness was natural. For most of history, being outside after dark was deeply suspicious. In many medieval cities, walking without a lantern could get you arrested. Night belonged to thieves, ghosts, predators, and superstition. Humans feared darkness for thousands of years. Then suddenly, historically speaking, we conquered it. We flooded the night with artificial daylight and called it progress. But every technological victory comes with a cost. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light for an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset. Blue light from phones, televisions, and LED screens suppresses melatonin.
Researchers have discovered that people who spend just 1 week camping without artificial light experience dramatic biological changes. Their melatonin cycles reset. Their bodies begin preparing for sleep near sunset again, almost exactly the way humans likely did for most of history. Only 1 week. That is all it takes for ancient biology to begin resurfacing beneath modern life, which raises a haunting possibility. What if modern insomnia is not always a malfunction? What if waking at 2 in the morning isn't necessarily your body failing? What if part of your brain is still trying to follow a rhythm that civilization abandoned only a few centuries ago? For 300,000 years, human beings lived by firelight and starlight. They gathered in darkness and told stories that carried knowledge across generations. They slept in 2 phases, separated by silence and reflection. They stared at skies so clear that the Milky Way was not a rare sight hidden behind city lights. It was simply the sky above them every single night. And somewhere in those silent hours between first sleep and second sleep, our ancestors lay awake beside dying fires, listening to insects in the darkness, watching embers drift upward into the stars, thinking about their fears, their memories, their gods, and the uncertain morning waiting beyond the horizon. Then, humanity invented a switch, and almost overnight, an ancient